to go.
And do we have any members of the public with us tonight?
Not as of right now, nope.
Okay, well then, thank you. Welcome. I'll call this Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021 meeting of the Historic Resources and Museums Advisory Board to order, and I'll welcome everyone. And we will start with the approval of the minutes from our May 26th meeting. Y'all should have gotten a copy.
Move approval.
Are there any changes, corrections, comments?
Second.
All right, we have a move and a second. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Great, they are approved. Thank you. And we'll go on to the HRM program report. Troy.
Great, thank you, everyone. Hope everyone got at least a minute to get outside today. It was gorgeous. And if you want to visit our parks, that would even be a seconded positive. All right, see, we have folks from each of our sections here this evening. So Ernie, you appear to be number one on our Hollywood Squares.
All right.
So we shall start with you.
Oh, well, it's nice to lead off the evening. Great to see everybody this evening. Yeah, it's very interesting to see Raleigh, the downtown, start to come back to life, and we're starting to see that in some of our visitation numbers. We had about 867 folks come to the museum last month in May, and about 70 folks at the Pope House, which is doing pretty good. So certainly in the past months, we've seen an uptick in the Pope House visitation, and certainly next month's report will be exciting because of our Juneteenth celebration this past weekend. We only had one event at the museum. We're still doing the last of our virtual programming. So we did a program with Ian Dunn, the state archivist, which was a great program. And these programs have done pretty well. We've had between 50 or 60 people show up for these programs. So that's pretty good as everybody gets Zoom fatigue these days. Have that many people show up is a great testament to the interest and the popularity of the topics that we choose. Coming up, I think we'll just shift to the future. Coming up next week, the Friends of the City of Raleigh Museum have their big fundraiser, and they've backpacked or piggybacked on our Legacy Women of Change exhibit in the City of Raleigh Museum. So they're doing a Women of Change exhibit at Cafe Luna, which we've put out the call to see who are those women in the community that really are affecting change and need to be honored for that. So the votes are in, and those people are going to be speaking at Cafe Luna next week on the 29th of June. So yeah, please drop a cool $1,000 and buy a table if you'd like. We would certainly appreciate that. So that's kind of cool that they're actually getting into the spirit of the exhibit and kind of sort of memory into action, sort of looking at those women who are around us today that are making real change. So we're excited to have that next week. The other big news that just came together today at the Friends of the City of Raleigh Museum's annual meeting is next month. And it's going to be on July 21st. And we have a new exhibit opening in just a couple of days. And this is a revamp of our civil rights exhibit. When we first took over the Raleigh City Museum, the civil rights exhibit was up, and it has been hands down one of the most popular exhibits that we've ever had at the museum. And a lot of people come in to see it. We're known for it. So we took it down last year, I think, year and a half ago. And so we transformed it into one of our biggest, most ambitious traveling exhibits. So that will be up on display until February of 2022. So we're really excited. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Catherine and her team did a great job of working with Point Concepts to have this exhibit reformatted to travel around. So we'll have that up in the lobby of the museum. So the fundraiser in July is going to be Talking to History. We've asked Joe Holt, who many of you might know, who is actually in the exhibit and was the first one to try to integrate Raleigh schools. Yeah. He is going to be our speaker for the evening. So That's going to be fairly exciting time, because if you never talked to Joe Holt, he's a very cool guy, and it's just has some incredible, meaningful stories from what it was like in the 1960s to try to integrate Raleigh schools. So that has just come together within the past 3 or 4 hours. We're very excited. You guys are the first to hear that, to see Joe at the museum. So yeah, we are still looking for some folks to come, and I think $1,000 might be too rich for your blood. I think there are $600 tables available, so we'll cut you a deal if you guys want to come to that. So it's gonna be an absolutely lovely evening with alcohol, food, and a great way to celebrate those women who've made a difference in Raleigh. So stand by for the exciting report next month about our Juneteenth festivities this weekend, which we're over the moon about. So that's the report from the City of Raleigh Museum and the House. Any questions?
Just a real solid kudos to staff and volunteers and everybody connected with the Pope House Museum. It was a 3-day extravaganza, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of this last weekend. And it was awesome. What, almost 500 people, Ernie? Is that right? Yeah.
So it's our biggest event we've ever done.
Artifacts from UNC Chapel Hill. Edna, you'll be glad to know we hit that old agreement from 2007 when we transferred all those artifacts over to UNC Chapel Hill. We went calling over there and got them back over for this event. There was just a lot of coordination, a lot of logistics. Ernest and Catherine, Ansley, everybody on this, and then countless folks behind the scenes, just a real solid team effort to put that together for that space. So
yeah, I'll be very excited to give this report next month, because it was all that in a bag of chips. Awesome at the Pope House.
And on your right in the chat, folks, I just put some of those details of that Women of Change event next Tuesday night at Cafe Luna. They are selling individual seats, and if you think about it, $100, it sounds like a big blow, but it's a 4-course meal, Cafe Luna, alcohol included. And I mean, you can't go eat that there for that amount of money. So if you're not having any plans next Tuesday evening, have a cheap date night and get some folks over. And we are still looking for 2 individual sponsors for 2 of there are 10 Women of Change that'll be identified. We're still looking for sponsors for 2 of those. And I've put those in the chat there on the right as well. So if you want any details, if you think you have any leads on somebody that might be interested in sponsoring Nancy or Paulette, you can reach out to me and we can get that coordinated. Yes, yeah, it's $100 per seat. There's tables of 10 and there's tables of 6, but you can buy an individual seat. We'd love to get an entire table sold. Or I should say the friends, of which I'm one. So I can put my friend cap on and say we would love that.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, and still a little bit of the thunder there also from the Pope House Museum. The council did adopt the budget last week, and it did include $1 million in upfit and repairs for the Pope House Museum as well. That is $1.00 million, which will be just a transformative investment in that space.
We will spend every penny.
Yes, hopefully there won't be too much overhead in that project. All right. Thank you, Ernest. Let's see. The next smiling face I see is Doug Porter. Doug, I don't know if you want to give an update on sites.
Sure, I do want to. Hello, everybody. It's good. Hope everybody's had a good month since we said hello last time. Let's see. I did Moore Square first last time, so I'll kick it off with Mordecai this month. Mordecai Mordecai and the museum, because we're co-hosting this year, are in the midst of the first session of our History Hunters summer camp. And it's each session this year is a 2-week session. In the past, we've done 1-week stretches. This year we're doing 2-week. So we are in week 2 of session 1 right now. And I think it's going well. But we have 3 more sessions left after this. There is availability in each one of those camps. So I would say if you know of any kids who just love history between the ages of 9 and 13, please encourage them or their parents to consider signing them up for History Hunters Summer Camp. You can Google that. You can go find more information about it on the City of Raleigh, on the Parks and Rec page of the city's website. But it's a good time, and I would love to see some more campers join the group. With Mordecai, I think I mentioned last time, but I'm not positive. We've been running a series of special themed trolley tours. So of course we're doing the regular trolley tours every Saturday out of Mordecai, but we've been doing a series of specialty tours. Since this group last met, we have run the Jewish history trolley tour, which ran on May 23rd and was a smashing success and completely sold out. And on June 13th, we ran the LGBTQ history trolley tour. This was the second annual run of that trolley tour. And it was a smashing success and sold out. And we actually got a nice little spot on ABC 11, kind of covering the trolley tour. The next specially themed tour we have coming up is a food trolley tour, which will be in August. So August 21st, and I encourage you guys to think about taking that. You know, as I said, we're in the middle of camp. We got trolley tours going on, but we're already starting to think about what the fall is going to look like. And last fall did not look that exciting, except for in our virtual world, which we learned a lot about. But this year we're hoping to really open back up some of those, some of those traditional events and programs that we are kind of known for. So we're launching the conversations right now about how we can make those happen this year. One program that I have always been excited about is Escape to Freedom. Of course, we were not able to do that last year, but we are in current conversations with which is the acting troupe that partners with us on that program. And so we're looking at dates in September. So hoping we'll be able to put that on this year. It's going to be an interesting time, and I don't think that I'm breaking any news. I think the news has already been broken. So I'm going to go ahead and say it, but Josh is going to be on paternity leave. Our fearless leader over at Mordecai is on paternity leave in the fall. So it's going to be a busy and interesting fall. He's anticipated to be out August through October. So we're excited for him, though of course we will miss him around Mordecai. Switching gears over to Moore Square. Of course, we are still without an assistant director, but we are in the process right now of reviewing applications. We got just over 100 applications for the assistant director position. Jenna is actively involved in the process, and she has put together a hiring committee for the position. They're currently reviewing, and if I have my days straight, I believe that the committee is meeting tomorrow to whittle down who they're going to bring in for their first round of interviews. And so the first round of interviews will be phone interviews, and then from there they would whittle down a little bit further to see who they want to bring in for face-to-face interviews. So we still have some some time ahead of us, but we are getting somewhere, and we are able to see the applicants now. So that's exciting news. I know it can never really happen as fast as we'd like for it to, but it is moving in a positive direction. Moore Square, as always, has a number of programs and events planned in the next month or so. I always want to plug with this group the Moore Square Farmers Market, which we have running every Saturday, which will be going through the beginning of October. They're on Sundays, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. They're great. They're really successful this year. I think Sundays has been a popular choice. Each week we're getting about 25 to 30 vendors out and approximately 1,500 participants each week. So I think it's been a very positive change to move it to the weekends. Of course, we're still doing like yoga and various other fitness classes out over the course of the week at Moore Square. Also partnering with the Raleigh Night Market. And the Raleigh Night Market is hosting their market every third Thursday evening at Moore Square. And that is from 5 to 9 p.m. This is going to be cool. It's going to run each monthly through November. And it's great. I mean, it's just kind of an evening with vendors, food vendors, people selling stuff. There is beer on the lawn. It's a really neat event. And I would really encourage you guys to look at coming out, if able, in July, the third Thursday. Trolley tours are running from Moore Square on Sundays. So we have it set up so the trolley tours at Moore Square coincide with the Moore Market, trying to bring attention to that. And another exciting thing is that Square Burger is in the process of expanding their hours. So pre-COVID, they were 7 days a week. With COVID, the hours were reduced to just Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so we're excited now that we are in the kind of the final steps of them coming back online 7 days a week. We don't know exactly when that's going to start, but we expect within the next probably week or so. So that's certainly welcome news from our perspective, and something that we've been wanting them to do for a while. As always, very busy across the board at sites.
Is the Square restaurant gonna be able to have enough staff? Because the way they're talking on the TV, the fast food places don't have enough staff.
Yeah, and I want to admit I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing, but I know your question was about just kind of staffing concerns.
Yeah, for the restaurant.
It is a concern. I know that at Moore Square we've had, and at Mordecai, but to a lesser degree. At Moore Square we've had quite a bit of kind of transition. We've hired several new folks over the past year, and they don't always stay that long. Jenna is actually is in the process of hiring 3 new part-time staff, but of course that happens when 2 part-time staff just left. So where it sounds great that we're hiring more, some people others are leaving, which is a problem because I mean the part-time staff they're largely the face of the park. They're the ones that put on the programs. So we're working with what we got, and we're thankful for who we got, but it is a ongoing concern.
Right.
Are there different vendors every weekend for the market?
There are, so there's some, and I can't give you a list of who that is, but we have some consistent folks who pretty much count on being out there every week. We have some folks who commit to every other week. And then we have some who are just kind of one-offs.
Yeah.
If you go to what I can say is go to the DRA has a website for the farmers market, and if you go to that, it updates you weekly with who's going to be there that Sunday.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what you're getting into.
Cool. Thanks.
Yep. Thanks, y'all. Troy, I think you're muted.
Thank you. Other questions for Douglas? I posted the muffin place in chat. It's a personal favorite.
I was, what, I almost said that. I was like, I don't know that I should plug anybody, but I would ditto what you just said. Yes.
You've not had an English muffin until you
Yeah,
had one
very
of their
good.
English muffins. It is
Yes.
crazy town how good it is.
Yes.
So thank you, Douglas. Other questions?
Thanks,
Hey, this morning, Josh and Vanessa were over at Tucker. I heard you briefly. I heard you
You heard me down there, yeah.
before I was in that meeting. Any update on the repairs?
Yeah, well, so I was talking to Josh. We're under contract with Oak City Artisans, who is a carpentry group, locally based, who was highly recommended by the State Historic Preservation Office. They've done quite a bit of work throughout Raleigh, but a lot of work really in Oakwood. Very, very familiar, comfortable with working with historic structures. So we have them under contract for carpentry repairs at Tucker within the next few months, once everything is finalized. I'm meeting tomorrow with Matrix Painting because as soon as the carpentry is done, we're going to move straight into painting. So I'm meeting with a painter tomorrow to go ahead and start the quote process on that.
All right, other questions for sites? Lots starting to go on again. All right, attractions. Scott, you're the last face on the Hollywood Squares here I've got, so.
Right. Corner square for the block. Hi guys, how are you? I'd like to thank Sabrina for filling in last time and double duty on the committee for me. I appreciate that. I hope she gave you a very thorough, detailed report, as I'm sure she always does. Pullen Park, we are busy, we are hopping, we are crowded. The parking is insane currently. So Troy is right, it is beautiful out there, and everyone has taken your advice, Troy, and come to Pullen Park today. So thank you for that. That being said, today was actually a pretty exciting day for us. So we actually onboarded 7 new people today, of which 5 were under 16 and 2 were over 18. So it was it's a mix, you know, no different than Doug was sharing a minute ago. It's tough because we're losing people just as fast as we're getting them, which, to be honest with you, is normal attrition for what we have. It's just that we're so low to start off with that it seems like we're losing more, but we're really not. We're losing about the same amount we traditionally would. We just don't have a lot of people to start with. So with that being said, we are still operating on adjusted hours. We are opening additional attractions as we get new staff members in. So unexpected openings are great for the public. We just can't advertise them, unfortunately, at this point yet for a steady schedule. We also had the luxury and the wonderful pleasure of opening the Chavis Community Center as part of that event they had over there the other week. And that was a beautiful facility. If you haven't gotten over there to see it yet, the community center is just, it's wow. It's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And in my personal opinion, I think the splash pad and whatnot over there is truly going to enhance the carousel ridership into the future as they get the opportunity to start to program and whatnot. So with that being said, we are coming up on the last of HRM's experience with running the carousel over there day to day at Chavis Carousel. It will be taken over by the Chavis staff on July 1st. HRM will still be keeping ownership of the conservation and restoration side of things, but Chavis will be going full bore into the amusement business. So we're happy to introduce them to that in the near future as well. Cool things happen in Pullen Park today. I think I shared with you a while back that we were working on some carnival games, customized carnival games. 3 of those units came in and they're really awesome. Catherine and her team helped me work on securing those and designing those. We actually rolled those out today for the first time as a free experience with our under 18 staff running them. So that's a great way that we're using our youth staff in the non-mechanical function as carnival games. So those were very well received by the public. Those will be a ticketed option in the near future, but as of this minute, they are on just a trial basis and a free run until we get the kinks worked out. Also pretty cool today, we got to see the Track Kid Junior Conductor Adventure that had been in the process. They've been testing that the past few weeks here. That's the third-party vendor that's working on the digital compass wristband technology, syncing up with cell phone to provide content. So in our case, it's providing a history tour of Pullen Park where the kids are getting engaged with different activities as well. I saw that running full bore today for the first time, which was pretty awesome. I'll share news for Troy as well. They have chosen to extend that test experience for another 30 days. They're going to get that scheduled to me in the near future and roll it out here for another 30 days. in the hopes of getting into a conversation with partnering with us long-term to make it a more permanent experience. So cool stuff's happening. We're busy, but cool stuff is happening. We're throwing staffing at it left and right. On the full-time staffing note, the position for program manager and program and operations manager is what we called it, or events and operations manager. It has been posted and it is available until July 11th. So if you have any friends or families or colleagues in the business that are interested, please have them look for it on governmentjobs.com. We'd love to see their application. And hopefully we'll have that position filled within the next, if I'm being ambitious, month and a half or so. So that'll hopefully get us back on track as far as daily operations. Other news full-time wise as well, we do still have a team member out on military leave. Hopefully he will be returning within the coming 2 months as well. So lots going on at Pullen Park, and it's been a fun time, honestly. Busy but fun. So what questions does anyone have?
I have a question about the carousel. So I
Sure.
know that, so is it because of this transition from HRM staffing to the Chavis staff that it's not currently running? Because I just noticed in
You mean
like,
today in particular?
well, no, I saw in an email update, like one of my
Yes.
city email updates, that it would be not running for a bit.
So yeah, so what happened was we actually noticed this was an issue that came up a couple weeks back where they were doing some press release and photo shoots for the carousel. And they had an issue with it then that facilities came out to look at, and they thought it had been resolved.
Okay.
On the day of the grand opening, that same issue was recurring, and we actually had to reset the carousel, if you will, on several occasions. It's safe to function, but it's working intermittently. So it's not a good guest experience, because anytime it breaks down, we technically have to call the maintenance team in to come work on it. And who knows how long it's going to take them or if they can get to it. So in the interim, while they're looking for it's a custom design piece that they're working on. So while they're working on that custom design piece, we decided it was in the best interest of everyone to just keep it closed for the short term.
Okay, yeah. We were able to ride it at the opening, so at
Yeah.
least our 2.5-year-old was pleased.
Yeah, we lost it. I was there that entire day and we lost it 4 times throughout the day, including 2 at the very end. So unfortunately, the problem was larger than initially judged back when it was first happening.
Yeah, that's such a bummer to happen
Yeah.
like on that day, and then for people to be thinking about coming to visit after the
Yeah.
opening, and yeah.
Well, the good news is we've used it to get more stuff open at Pullen in the interim. So we've been able to take advantage of it in that sense. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, yeah, for Chavis, we just don't have anything to offer there right now.
Yeah, but the splash pad is awesome, and the playground is awesome, and the visitor center is awesome. So,
Mhm.
or community center. So, yay, cool.
Yeah, it's not a great picture. I shared it. Sorry, Scott, when you were kind of
Yeah, I got you.
mid-sentence there. I don't know if anyone can see that, but that's also from up at the balcony at the community center looking out, which is just a wonderful view shed. And you can sort of see the playground is ginormous. It's the biggest in our system now. And with the accompanying splash pad, also just pretty awesome.
I think is that the biggest splash pad in the city?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, by several times.
yeah.
Yeah, it looked big. Yeah, my daughter and I went on the merry-go-round because that was my thing I used to do growing up. Every Sunday, my mama would take me down there to ride for 5 cents, and we could ride as long as it would go around. But
I want to see some pictures, Edna. Pictures or it didn't happen.
I don't have one picture, not
Oh,
one. I'm sorry, but that was her way of getting me to go to sleep. So after I rode around on that for a while, then I would go to sleep, come home and go to sleep. So it was fun riding with my daughter because she never understood the thing about riding a merry-go-round every Sunday.
cool.
Any
Well,
other questions?
yeah. It was a glorious day Saturday week ago. Just a nice event, and we just, so you know, we support a lot at Chavis, but a lot of it now has become sort of behind the scenes. But in that frame, the John Chavis Memorial Park Interpretive Plan, which we've talked about in this committee quite a bit, that first element of that plan, that installation is now moving forward as well, and we're looking for a September ribbon cutting on that as well. So so the work is ongoing at Chavis.
In a similar vein, like we did at Pullen Park, I am doing a donation drive for Chavis Park. If anyone has any old pictures of playing on any, playground, riding the carousel, in the ball field, on the track, anything pre like 2015, 2010, please send them my way, or tell people to give them my contact info. I'll drop it in the chat. I'm trying to make a concerted effort to collect Chavis Park connected things besides our restoration stuff we already have in the collection connected to the carousel. Action shots, if you will. That's why I was giving Edna a little grief about pictures. So if anyone has anything, please send them my way.
And if there's no other questions, I am going to step out myself. I have to go tear down the carnival game. So thanks for everyone's time, and
Thank you.
glad to see you all again.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. Lots of good work going on. I know this was included on your packet, but I'll just share real quickly just some of the performance measures we use and this last month. Hopefully everybody can see that on their screen. With visitation, maybe one of the things that's a welcome relief for those of us that have to make all the numbers work is we're starting to do a lot of our revenue functions again, which is nice. You'll see that in the drab gray box beneath the program numbers, including rentals. Our rental book is just really as robust as it's ever been in many ways, just what we've done this last month, as well as so much of the way we do that is future business. So the pipeline, as we call it, is very robust now with rentals, which is nice for us after almost 10, 11 months of nothing. Still, volunteers are also starting to inhabit the program again, which is nice. And so that's a welcome change from this last year. And even with some of that program enhancement, you may have heard earlier Douglas speak about the trolley now is originating at Moore Square on Sundays, which is a nice enhancement there for us. And we hope to continue to support that moving forward as well. As I mentioned, council did adopt the budget for us this last week, so it's full steam ahead. We mentioned in a previous meeting that one of the big pieces for us in our sort of future work processes was a dedicated penny to parks maintenance. Which sounds like not very exciting, but for us, certainly in the history side of the operation, where so much of our work is just basic building stewardship, it was of critical importance. And so council did adopt that penny, dedicated penny towards parks maintenance projects moving forward, what we call capital improvement or CIP work. And so myself, as well as a couple of others in our department, are on on that group to begin to identify a priority listing of those projects that will be funded moving forward, with the first beneficiary from our perspective being the Pope House Museum, but then just knowing we're going to have that dedicated stream of almost $5 million a year towards those projects is comforting. I know we say wow, and I saw that wow, Esther, and it is a wow for us. But just to give you a little perspective, when I started when I started a while ago with the city, we had a dedicated maintenance stream of right at $12.5 million per year. Remember, I mean, we're the largest park system in the state by a lot. We manage thousands and thousands of acres and hundreds of buildings, and so it can be overwhelming. And in 2008, 2009, that whole pot of money went away, and it's never come back. And in the intervening years, we've had like $1.5 million one year. We had 3 million another year. We had, one year we had 8 million. But we sort of felt as a kind of a leadership group that rather than be on this pendulum of 1 million to 8, if we could get a dedicated money stream again, even though it wouldn't be what it was, that would be something that we could work with moving forward. So that was a big piece for us, and I'm relieved that we were able to get that adopted in the budget. Let's see, there's a lot of other sort of admin boring stuff. I won't get into all that. So if y'all have any questions, you can certainly ask me or anyone else, staff that's on the call. But just know that that's something that will be helpful for us moving forward with all of our sort of all the stewardship piece of our operation.
Thank you, Troy. Any questions for Troy or the rest of the staff? All right, then we are going to move on to old business. The officer slate, which actually includes a little bit of new business. Some changes to be made. About 3 months ago, my husband and I bought a piece of property in Waynesville, North Carolina, just outside of Asheville, to build a house. And we anticipated staying in Raleigh until it was done, but we've realized that's not really very feasible for us. So we are moving. We've already signed a lease on a rental property to live in while our house is being built, and expect to leave Raleigh probably in August. So obviously I cannot stand for re-election as chair of this board. I have very mixed emotions about this. I've been in Raleigh for 35 years and have worked with Troy and Audrey and several of you for a very long time, but I'm from Asheville, so I'm going home, and that's pretty exciting. So the slate of officers that the board approved last month is not exactly valid. But the nominating committee did meet, and we have come up with a revised slate. And Esther, do you want to present that, or would you like me to?
I'm glad to.
Okay.
I'm substituting for Fred tonight. The bad news is that it appears you will be stuck with me as your leader. The good news is that Audrey Morgan will be the chair-elect, and that is just beyond thrilling. Audrey, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And then Alicia will take over next month when we do the changing of the guard as the nominating chair. So lots going on.
Yeah. I was gonna say, but Troy, you can jump in. I think the procedure is we
Yes.
need to approve that slate and then we need to have the election. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the sort of the appropriate path for this, since it's coming from nominating, would be a friendly amendment. And that would be in, from the nominating committee. And so we would essentially amend the slate to be Esther Hall as chair, Audrey Morgan as chair-elect, and Alicia McGill as nominating. Correct?
So
Yeah.
move on behalf of nominating.
And since that comes with an amendment from one of the standing committees, it doesn't need a second.
Right.
And it would just be, at that point, that would be sort of by the members as to what your pleasure was.
Okay. All right, so all in favor of the amended slate, say aye or raise your hand. Any opposed? Great, thank you. Well, is there any other old business?
I just wanted to take a quick point of privilege to just offer a heartfelt thank you to Claire Bass for all the work you've done on behalf of the city, as well as Claire and I go back to when she was curator for North Carolina Historic Sites, and I was a lowly site manager out at Historic Oakview County Park, and many eons ago.
Yeah, long time ago.
And we met over an exhibit where we were trying to borrow artifacts from the Thomas Wolfe Memorial.
Right,
And that was right around the fire, if I'm remembering.
yeah, I think so.
So in any event.
And Troy and I also served on the board of the North Carolina Museums Council together back in the 90s.
Oh, wait, 90s.
I'm gonna say when.
But you've just been just a voice of reason and assurance and also expertise. And I know how much you're appreciated when my staff tell me how great you are and how sad they are that you're going to move on, that you were someone that just gets it in terms of this sort of duality we feel from public service, as well as caring for perishable, items, non-renewable stuff. And so we just are going to miss you.
Well, thank you.
But we will look for the invitation for Waynesville.
Yeah,
It's a
retreat.
Yeah,
It's a
Staff
gorgeous neck of the
retreat.
state.
yeah, it's a
I'm
gorgeous place.
sad, but I'm also jealous.
And as I told the executive board, I will stay on the board until we leave Raleigh. We don't have a date yet. We've had so far 4 offers on our house. We haven't accepted one yet, but one's pretty good. So we'll see what happens. We have a couple of more showings scheduled in the next 2 days.
Claire, you have to come back for our in-person volunteer banquet.
Yes,
In the early
Claire.
fall.
We'll see. We'll see.
That's asking a lot.
Well, thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
been a real joy and privilege to be the chair of this committee, and this is one of the things I will miss. As well as Cameron Village Library, Audrey.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna miss you, Claire.
Oh,
I have to send all your holes down to Waynesville.
There you go. Well, moving on to new business, the next item is the election of our new officers. As our bylaws say, we vote this month and then we will seat the new officers next month. So I think as chair of acting for the nominating committee, Esther, you can present the slate.
move as previously stated.
All in favor of the slate as Esther as board chair, Audrey as chair-elect, and Alicia's nominating chair. All in favor? Great. Thank you. Welcome, you three, to take our leadership. Our other new business is just revisiting our board format. We are in a position, I think now, if we choose, we can start meeting in person. But if people are not yet comfortable doing that, we are welcome to continue meeting virtually. So is there any thoughts, feelings, discussion about that, how the board would like to proceed? Yeah, Esther?
I would like to have a party for Claire next month. And it would be really nice to celebrate being together. But whatever people are comfortable with.
So we would have the meeting.
I don't get to vote, but I love that idea.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Edna, I couldn't hear what you said.
oh, I said we would have the meeting and then have the party, or have a party and no meeting?
All of our meetings are parties.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I go along with that particular idea.
I'm happy to meet in person. I'm vaccinated. Is there anyone who is feeling uncomfortable with that, with the idea of meeting at Mordecai next month?
I'm wondering, are there any kind of changes, limitations to like how would our meetings look different in person from what they looked like before in person? Do we know? Like, are there any kind of city sort of,
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
Like, do you have to sit a few feet apart, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Or like, can we have food freely? Can we, I don't know.
Right.
So just to clarify a bit, the recommendation is 3 feet and masks, but we are not requiring it. So that's a pretty significant change from where we were. We are also temperature checking. We are not recording that information. And so, you know, if we did decide to meet at Mordecai next month, there's a temperature checking station. You know, you would walk up to it. It's basically on a stand. You stand on it. It scans you. As long as your temperature is fine, you come on into the meeting. It would be up to the group as to whether we would want to wear masks or not, knowing that the city's stance is recommended but not required, as well as the 3 feet of distance, again, recommended. If we did do 3 feet around the table, it can be done. We have, we've marked the space, but it's tight.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Did we have the space to do that if we wanted to do that?
Yeah, it's tight, but we can, and we've done it. We did it with a group. Maybe it was a couple of weeks ago over at Mordecai, different group, but it was about the same number, and we could accommodate it.
Have you been having staff meetings in person? Like you said, you had one last week, but like on a regular basis, or is it
Not
sort of
all
like
of
on
them.
case by case?
And I think we're just, you know, in some ways for us, some of that is just, you know, logistics. It's easier with parking, but having said that, you know, we started meeting as a staff again last week, and it seems like that's the direction we're moving.
Hasn't council gone back to meeting in person? Didn't I see that?
I would be comfortable, but would not want to put any staff into an uncomfortable position.
Right.
If there were, or any other board members, I feel like maybe this is something we should vote anonymously on, if we can do that. Because I recognize that some people may be uncomfortable, but not feel comfortable saying that they're uncomfortable, or.
You've reached the extent of my technical knowledge on this platform, but I
Maybe-
know we could just have each member send an email to Claire, right?
Yeah, you could definitely do that.
You
And then
can
that
do
way-
a poll but I don't see that, like, I don't know how that would work in
Yeah.
this particular platform of Zoom or version of Zoom.
Yeah,
I
I'm pretty
think-
sure I can create one. I have not done one, but I think it's pretty easy to do. So it's something we could try to test out.
If we sent emails, that would allow the members that are absent tonight to be able to still participate and have their voice heard.
That's
That's
true,
a good point,
point.
Chip.
but
good
is
point.
not anonymous between, like the poll itself can be fully anonymous.
Right. But
But
I
a
would be happy to take those emails, and I would not share who has said what, because I absolutely understand if someone is uncomfortable meeting. You know, we're all at our own personal levels, and I think that's how it should be.
Can you do like a Google poll or SurveyMonkey? Like I think they're all free. Like, and then you just email that out to folks and they can respond, and you just have the aggregate versus
I can do
individual.
that.
Yeah. Oh, wait, there you go.
Oh,
Oh,
Fancy.
Yeah, and then we could do the Google poll as an option for anyone who wasn't able to make it, or something like that.
yeah, absolutely.
That is super fancy. I knew Mike could figure that out.
Yeah, if we wanted to, so you guys can see the answers rolling in right now. Looks like 7 have voted yes to meeting in person, 0 no so far.
Yeah, we cannot see that, Michael. Apparently only you can.
You can
Is
see it?
No, we
totally
cannot.
anonymous.
It's all anonymous. Here, I can share.
But it sounds overwhelmingly yes.
Does staff get a choice?
I voted.
I think staff should vote
Yes,
too.
yes, I think staff
Yes.
should get a choice. Yes.
I see the poll, but I don't know what to do with it.
If you answer, if you check on the yes, it means you'd rather meet in person. If you check on the no, it means you would rather meet via Zoom.
Oh,
So
okay,
far, 12 people of the 15 have voted,
okay.
or 13, 12 have voted they'd rather meet in person. 1 has voted that they would rather meet virtually.
I guess I don't. Okay.
And 2 people have not voted. And one of that's me. So I guess 1 person hasn't voted. I vote meet in person.
I bet you do.
I was gonna say, Michael, how many of these meetings do you do? I've been on 3 with you, I think, in the past few days.
Yeah, I do all of them pretty much.
Yeah.
Must sit through so many meetings.
This is another one of these others duties as assigned as a reality of COVID.
It looks like out of the 14 members, not include myself, 13 have voted yes and 1 has voted no. So 13 yes for meeting in person, 1 saying they'd rather meet virtually.
And we have 3 excused absences, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So I will reach out to the 3 of them and see what their feelings are. And then I think at that point I can touch base with the whole board and we can make a decision via email.
Okay.
that works
thank
for
you.
everyone.
Does
Right.
that poll just include staff members too?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Any other new business? Yes,
Claire,
Esther.
may I give a quick update on filling pending vacancies?
Yes. Well, that's a nominating committee report. If
I'm
you,
sorry, I got ahead of
that's all
myself.
right.
Sorry.
Because we're moving on to reports now.
Thank you.
And we'll start with collections. Edna?
Okay, we did not meet in June. We will meet in person at the Tucker House on July the 19th at noon. And with 5 of us, we got plenty of space in there.
Yeah, there's lots of good things up for the slate, and thank you, Claire, for being my third for a quorum for the vote, since Matt had to step off, and looking forward to seeing y'all in person at Tucker.
All right, community engagement.
I know we're going to meet in July, and I know we're going to plan an event.
And then you can move on to the nominating report, Esther.
Okay. Council goes on summer break. And so we've been trying to tee up vacancies, which now are Matt and sadly our buddy Claire, and then followed by Fred, who's term limited in October. And so for Chip and Alex, we really like to have a pipeline of people in the queue. And so we have 2 folks who've been waiting multiple years, and their numbers are up. So we will be nominating 2 former RHDC members. Jenny Harper lives downtown and is a preservationist by training. And Jane Ford is a retired Broughton High School civics teacher. And they both, this is just such a win. They're experienced city commission members and well steeped in preservation. So I'm just thrilled. I think we will not make next week's council agenda if Troy has educated me properly. So it may be, so we'll be in the queue for August or whenever we are considered by council. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Program and exhibits, Mark had to be out of town. Is there any report for that committee? Okay. Executive committee, we met on Monday, since last Friday was a holiday, and reviewed the draft of the minutes from last month and the agenda for tonight, and also reviewed the officer slate and upcoming board meetings and nominees. So we had a really good Zoom meeting. Friends of the Core Museum, I was in Waynesville last Wednesday, meeting with various people, finding a place to live, so I wasn't able to be at that meeting. Troy, do you have a report for Friends of City of Raleigh Museum?
Sure. I can just say a lot of the conversation last Wednesday centered on the Women of Change, the upcoming Women of Change event next Tuesday, and just trying to kind of put a plan in place for asks for people to sponsor tables. That was a big point of the conversation. I think another sort of announcement that was made, which was very exciting, was the Fletcher Foundation did agree to donate $10,000 to the museum to support programs. So that was a relief, I know, for the Friends. They are, from a cash flow perspective, they've faced a lot of pressure over this last year, as you can imagine. Of course, they are also looking for nominees. That was a point of conversation. One thing to think about from Claire's departure is it impacts us with this group, but she's also one of our 2 voting members from our program that sit on the City of Raleigh Friends board. It's herself and Ed Morris are, as part of our agreement with the Friends, we have 2 voting members that sit on their board. And so when Claire departs, that will leave that position for us vacant as well. So that may be something to think about from this group. It was very, very nice to have someone from this board as one of our voting members to their board, because sort of like having Jen Wagner here for PRGAB, it just gave us kind of a direct line of communication. It's a great group. They do a lot of good work. Of course, one of the other conversations that's occurring right now is between the Friends and the Conservancy at Dix. There's a real active interest in looking at a move to Dix as part of the sort of the future of the museum. And so to that end, the executive committee of the Friends board met with some of the leadership of the Conservancy, and they have drafted a letter of intent between those 2 organizations to sort of spell out how that relationship may work moving forward. And so that was another piece of information that Alex Mateague, who's the current chair of the Friends, discussed at the meeting last week. I think those are most of the highlights. Ernie, if I've missed anything, let me know.
I think you've got everything.
We also welcomed Megan back formally, which was really nice. That was the first Friends meeting she had participated in quite some time. So that was cool. I just know for her and her family, just this last year has been difficult in many ways, in addition to the COVID situation. So.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer.
I was wondering if you could elaborate on that, what their talks with the Dix Conservancy and how they think those 2 groups could work together. As the Conservancy supporting the Friends, or what does that look like?
I think it's mostly right now talking about how the museum might relocate to Dix, and then what the Conservancy's role would be in that. Okay. What the Friends have offered is to liquidate their ownership interest in the Briggs building downtown, and to bring that equity to that move when it occurs. We are on a sublease. When I say we, I mean the city are on a sublease to the Friends lease of that building, and it expires in 2027. And that sounds like a long time from now, but in city work, it really isn't. I know one of the things we're talking about with this bond issue that will be at some point on the ballot next year, hopefully, maybe in March, maybe in November, that there's going to be a building study at Dix. So there's dollars associated with that. And there are 2 buildings that we've looked at over on the Dix campus as a potential landing spot for the museum. And so that building study would include the museum with an adaptive reuse of those 2 buildings or a new build. And so that's sort of the first step once the Conservancy agrees to that letter of intent. And I believe they have it now. I haven't confirmed that with Alex, but I'm pretty confident it's been conveyed to them.
Okay.
I know that Alex, last month in the board meeting, Alex said he had had an incredibly good, constructive conversation with Janet Howe. So he felt very comfortable about how the discussions were moving forward.
Great, interesting. Thanks for that information.
Anything else on the Friends of the City of Raleigh Museum?
I would just say again, take a look at those up in the chat string. A look at that event next Tuesday night with the table. We'd love to have some more peeps come out for that. And if you know anyone, you can go to that second link, the Google Doc link, and it'll list who the nominees are. Or not nominees, who the women are who will be recognized. And they don't know right now. So if you know some of those people, please don't call them. But if you know people that know those people and might be interested in helping sponsor, I know the two that we lack right now are Nancy and Paulette.
There was a Friends of Oberlin Village announcement that went out about Sabrina Good. So
That's all right. I mean, it's kind of like our volunteer banquet, right? They're not supposed to know, but they get their pictures taken, for the newsletter. So it's kind of like,
I think they even put it on the social media. So
yeah, there you go. It will ensure she comes, right? Well, it's going to be a great evening and celebrate some impactful women in our community. So we'd love to have you. And if you can't, just buy a seat and
send money.
send a friend of yours, right?
Thank you, Troy.
Sure.
All right, Jennifer, the PRGAB report.
Sure. Hey, everybody. Good to see you again. Let's see. We talked about there's been put forward a petition to rename or to really name for the first time the Chavis track, the running track at Chavis. And the petition was to name it after an individual, Pat White, who had been a kind of star track runner at Inlow. Surprisingly, for the first time since I've been a member of the board, we've gotten some opposition, and a fair amount of opposition. And really, it's just because people feel like it shouldn't be named after one individual, and that rather it should just be sort of generic and just be the Chavis track, and that there were lots of athletes and lots of over the years. And so we've had to learn what to do with that, which basically just means that it extends the process of how long we review this, which is normally it lasts for a few meetings because of the process of how it goes. And now we're having to extend it an additional 2 months to give people time to give their input and to hear that. And then we'll have to make a decision as to whether or not to recommend that to City Council for the naming request. There was coincidentally an update from Stephen Bentley with the Parks Department about the new policy for donor recognition and honorary naming of parks. And we did go ahead and move approval for this to go to council for approval. Some of the highlights are, it's really defining the difference a little more clearly between someone who gives money or in-kind gifts that goes straight through staff and to City Council versus someone that it's more in honor of them. It continues to go to Parks Board for our review. However, the one condition of that is if it is for Dix Park, it goes to the Dix Leadership Committee for their review and approval. And there is a member of the Parks Board on the Dix Leadership Committee. which is myself at this time as the chair. So that's how we kind of keep our toe in that so that we can see what's going on. Also, there was a 10-day review process for when it goes to council for naming, so that people have a little more time to respond to that. And the number of people that need to support the renaming for an honorary naming has increased from 25 to 100. Realizing that 25 was a little bit of a low bar to set. Really all you have to do is get a few neighbors on board with you and you're good to go. So those were some of the highlights there. We had a Greenway safety report. This was related to council had put forward to the BPAC, the Bike Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and to Parks Board to review safety on the Greenway. This was a few months ago that they kind of put this forward to us. And so we put it to our Greenway committee to review, and BPAC members joined our committee in an ad hoc fashion to review this. And this was everything from safety related to police presence and criminal activity to safety of people going too fast on bicycles and you know, looking out for one another and how to walk safely on the Greenway. So working with staff, there's a new report that has come out that we approved and recommended and sent to City Council for their approval and adoption. A lot of it is best practices that they were already doing, and then some newly adopted practices, some new signage and things of that nature. Maintenance improvements, putting some traction strips on some of the stairs and slippery areas. And, the police presence with the volunteers through the Raleigh Police Department, that is now going again. That had kind of been paused during COVID. So that is back up and running again. So if you know of anyone, or if you would like to volunteer with that group to be a Greenway volunteer patrol person, they are looking for volunteers for that. Also, you probably heard that City Council did approve the hiring of 7 new officers that would go specifically for Greenway and Parks. And they haven't quite figured out how they're going to dole that out and what that means exactly, but it is nice to have those 7 officers that are dedicated just to Greenways and Parks for sure. Of course, that's not nearly enough for the entire park system, but that's just in addition to, you know, the typical police presence. There was a presentation by the Parks Director about the Parks Department's accomplishments during COVID, which was really great to hear and see. And I encourage you to go to the agenda for the meeting and review that document, because it was just, we encouraged them to do it because we wanted them to brag a little bit. And it was just really nice to hear all the efforts that have been put on. And you know of many of them, a lot of the online virtual programs that were done during COVID, a lot of efforts to continue to open up pools and tennis courts, you know, as soon as they could during COVID, summer camps, you know, being one of the few places that you could send your kids for summer camp last summer, and how they did such a wonderful job with that. There was only one outbreak and it was contained. So those are just some of the many highlights. You know, it was great to pat themselves on the back and remember that they were considered to be essential employees, essential staff and facilities during COVID, you know, still required to go to work during that time because they are essential to our city. And the use of greenways increased 300% during COVID. You know, there's some of the statistics are just amazing of how much people realized how important parks and greenways are to our lives. The play anywhere laugh line, remember that, how they did the jokes every day? That kept us going for a couple months in our household. So a lot of great stuff. We voted on our work plan and approved that. And I did send that to Sabrina if she wanted to include that in the minutes for you to look at, or you can go to the website and look at that. We have one new member who will be joining, and we had another who was going to be joining and had to decline. So we're still looking for another member. So if you know of anyone who would like to join us for the third Thursday evening of the month, please tell them to go to the website, the Parks and Greenway Advisory Board website, and fill out the application. There's an online application, or email me and I'm happy to help facilitate that. And regarding the bond issue, we had a discussion about that. As you've probably heard, the elections are being delayed for city council, and there's a lot of discussion about that and when they might be held. They're talking now about not doing it till fall. And so a lot of members of our board felt like we didn't want the parks bond to have to wait that long to be voted on, because this was something that really last spring of 2020, we went through this process to decide what should be on the bond. And by the time it would be voted on and then hopefully approved, it would be a couple years later. So we're looking into whether or not we can have the bond on the ballot for a spring ballot that for primaries that may occur. And apparently there's a precedent for that. So we're trying to look into that and get the city attorneys to see if that's legitimate. And if it is, we're going to put forward a memo to request that that be done and that it not wait until the council vote, which may be fall. I think that's everything.
Thank you. Any questions for Jennifer?
Jen, are you all meeting in person or transitioning to doing that or anything like that? I was just curious what other.
Yeah, we're not yet. So I was interested to hear that you guys might pretty soon, because what I was hearing was still not until August or later. So yeah, I'm all for it. It's, as Claire can attest, it's really hard to run a meeting via Zoom and have like a million windows open and try to see everybody. So I'm all for being back in person and seeing one another again as soon as we can.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have the upcoming events that are on your agenda. Lots of good things to think about, and I too encourage you, if you're in a position to go to the dinner next week at Cafe Luna. I think it's going to be a really great event. And then we also have committee meetings listed on the upcoming agenda. And as Edna said, Collections is looking forward to meeting in person and seeing artifacts real and not by picture.
Yeah, right.
Any other business to be discussed? Anything else to come up? Well, if not, I believe we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you later.